So, Ash, you've had your eyes lasered.
I have. Can see clearly. No glasses today, mate.
Yeah.
It's liberating.
No glasses. Yeah, I felt it. I thought it looked a little bit different. How did you find it?
It was more traumatic than I thought it would be, to be honest. The
Yeah.
actual procedure, I didn't think about much before I went in, and then I was in theatre. The reality of it sinks in that you're going to get your eyeball lasered open and then laser adjusted, and it's just quite distressing when there's a flap of your eye opened up and your vision is just going all over the place, because it's like looking through a prism. Like you've been through it, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
And they're just like, look at the green dot, and the green dot is just blurring all over the place as the flap of your eye moves, and then you can smell your eyeball burning as they adjust it.
Yeah.
But after that, it was amazing. It's just, I find the whole procedure just incredible. The fact that it's possible and how quickly it can be done as well. I was in and out in probably under 5 minutes. And then the next morning I woke up and my vision was significantly improved. It's just, incredible that that's a thing nowadays.
Yeah, I think, the laser eye surgery is definitely one of the best things I've done. 10 years ago, astigmatism. So where my eyeball is basically shaped like a rugby ball. So I know similar to you. We had pretty much similar eyes with the same sort of, like I was minus 1.25, minus 175. So it wasn't too bad. So 10 years on, and I'm still enjoying the fruits, shall we say, of laser eye surgery. So it's been great, but it's definitely good when it comes to sport. And for me, especially when I got into, obviously it initiated from me running, but then when I got into CrossFit, it was ideal because of the diverse range of exercises, movements, sweats. There's so much going on that contacts and glasses are not ideal. No. So I thought it'd be quite a nice segue into kind of today what we wanted to discuss, which is like carrying on from last week, where we was discussing how CrossFit may not be good for sport specific training, but we want to kind of maybe dive into why we think, well, I'll probably start with this myself, why I think everyone should probably do CrossFit to a degree. Now, when I say everyone, obviously that doesn't necessarily mean every single person, but if you don't have a specific like sport that you are working towards or trying to improve upon, like a basketball player, golfer, or whatever, that you should probably give CrossFit a go to kind of open your eyes to maybe a different way of training, due to it's broad range of exercises, styles of training. It's functional fitness, so it's pushes you outside your comfort zone often. And I find a lot of people that I've known over the years that I've seen go to these commercial gyms that I've worked at, and they still look the same 6 years later, and it's because they're pretty much going to the gym to tick a box to say, I go to the gym. Now that's all good, getting a pump, leaving feeling good. That can be a good goal. But for me, I think if you're someone that goes to the gym and just ticks a box, I definitely think maybe your New Year's resolutions, maybe just give a CrossFit class, maybe at WIT training, a go, and see how you get on. Because CrossFit for me absolutely changed so much of my perspective of training in general, and opened my eyes up to something. Don't get me wrong, I've definitely, shall we say, favoured strength training, still the bodybuilding side of things, but I can now have so much more body awareness when it comes to like just training in general because of CrossFit, through like the gymnastics, through the cardio conditioning and so forth. So what got you into CrossFit in the first place, Ash?
Funny enough, it was mobility WOD. So when I was struggling with my shoulder and having a frustrating time rehabbing it, I was looking into all the different ways of training, and that sort of led me down the rabbit hole of functional training, or training for sport and performance rather than aesthetics. Because I think the vast majority of fitness information came out of bodybuilding. Like in the early days, that was the fitness industry, was just focused on aesthetics, and it's slowly evolved to be more functional, so centered around how the body exactly how the body moves as a whole, rather than just training specific muscles to look a certain way. And when I was doing research on different ways to improve shoulder mechanics, I came across this website which had loads of different techniques I'd never seen before for improving your mobility. And it was very related to CrossFit. The mobility was all centered around, right, now you sorted your shoulder out, you can go and overhead squat. The overhead squat is an awesome movement for full body control and stability and skill. And it just got me really curious about training like that, because I'd never seen anything other than standard bodybuilding, powerlifting, maybe a little bit of weightlifting as well for power. But then I was actually introduced to a guy called Jack Hennigan, who ran a gym called Into CrossFit down in Clapham, which is now called Gymnasium. And he was actually a friend of a friend when I was looking to transition into working in fitness. So I started doing some work experience at his gym, which happened to be a CrossFit gym, rather than deliberately choosing it to be the way. And yeah, that was sort of when I started getting more and more into it, and you open your eyes to all those different movements that you've never done before, the skills you've got to tick off. And yeah, it's a very exciting place to be when you're new into CrossFit and just trying to experience all the different things it has to offer. How about you? How did you get into it, mate?
I'd say I was doing bodybuilding, so competed in that, then done some powerlifting. I was kind of just, there was someone at my gym that used to like do some CrossFit, and I remember bashing on him, thinking, oh, what a load of shit. That looks ridiculous. What are those Reeboks? Why are you wearing Reeboks for? Stuff like that. I remember this whole mentality. And then I started playing rugby league, and I thought, right, this is where, like, going on from last week's podcast, I then thought, right, I need something that's fast, explosive, and, you know, gets that heart rate up. And I thought, oh, CrossFit, like what he does, that'd probably be quite good. And it exposed me to a massive weakness of mine, where I had no top threshold whatsoever. And obviously CrossFit, especially when you're in the depths of a workout, you need the ability to stay relatively composed as you can when your threshold's really high. And I managed to then have a few workouts with the guy that was at the gym, and that was like my first kind of experience of it all. And then I managed to get to a CrossFit box, and that was CrossFit Shakesmiths in Clapham, which is the complete opposite end of London to me. So it was always a good fun commute, but obviously working in the city, it was easy enough to get to. But when I was coming from home, when I started working there, that was always tough, because I'd open up the classes, so doing the 5:30 class and stuff like that, which I absolutely loved. It was a great community and everything, and it was such a good CrossFit box. The head coach there programmed really good workouts, really CrossFit-y, and it was just a great time to coach. So for me, it was like I was coaching and doing it at the same time. So it was my, like, kind of just dipping straight in and being like fully exposed to all CrossFit, and it was a really cool time where, you know, I was, as you said, you know, you're starting to get exposed to all these new movements and stuff like that. And so you're trying your best in like the open gym to just try and nail them. And it's that fight for progression that I just need to get better. I need to get better. And that's what, like, when we said how like training was focused a lot more around the aesthetic side of stuff, and how we've noticed just the industry changing and going a lot more towards having a function and, you know, training for performance. And the looking good is the byproduct. Don't get me wrong, most of us still want to look good, but we also want to be able to perform good in whatever we choose to perform in. But what was your first? So obviously in CrossFit, it's known for its benchmark workouts, normally like girls workouts. What was it last called girls? Is because they put you on the floor or something like that? What was do you know?
It's something along the lines of, if anything should leave you out of breath in a sweaty mess on the floor, it should be a woman, which given the Twitter incident earlier this year has a I don't know, there's a little bit more significance, I think. Yeah,
so now when you start thinking about all these girls' workouts, so basically a lot of benchmark workouts. So if you don't know what a benchmark workout is in CrossFit, basically it'll be a particular workout. So it could be a couplet, triplet, whatever it is. And they're normally then called a girl's name. So for instance, one that a lot of people know is Fran. So it's thrusters and pull-ups, 21, 15, 9, and you go as fast as you can. The end. And normally at the end of that, everyone knows like where the stun is, like you get a Fran cough. So it's like where you push so hard you can't stop coughing, and it's one of the most brutal workouts. But what was the first workout you done when you got into CrossFit? Like benchmark workout you got into?
Yeah,
CrossFit?
my first benchmark was actually Fran, but a scaled version when I was doing my induction into, and I remember Jack sort of setting it up for me and explaining how it worked. I was like, okay, that sounds reasonable. Like 45 reps, it's not too many. Easy. And like anyone who's done Fran, when they're not in shape, you hit a wall very suddenly. It catches up with you so quickly, and then once you've hit the wall, it's a horrible place to be. You feel like you can't function at all. A thruster surface movement, just a squat and into a push press basically, but you're just like struggling. The bars seems to be wobbling all over the place. You can't control where it comes down, and you just can't concentrate because you're so intensely tired. And the lactic acid's just up to your eyeballs, and it's a very special feeling, even on a scaled version. So I'll never forget that, and I'm in no rush to do Fran anytime soon. How about you, mate? What was your first benchmark?
I'm pretty sure mine was Fran as well, because that was I just played around with kipping pull-ups, and anyone that can't kip knows what playing around with kipping pull-ups looks like and how terrible it actually is. And this was just in a commercial gym, and it was I think I used 40 kilos, and it just took so long. I remember it was over 10 minutes, and it was just whatever. I think it was either late night. And I just remember the pain of just basically, when you just said this, I went through the 21 thrusters. I think I broke it up once. I think at the time where I think I went to like say 15 or 16. I thought, all right, I need to put it down now and then go again. And the pull-ups, I remember going down and I was going into singles of just flailing up to the bar, just trying to get, and it just, it was the worst thing. And then trying to start that set of 15, just it's absolutely brutal. And, but yeah, so that was like my first feeling of it, and of how just I loved being exposed to something that I couldn't do that much. But I just think that's something that's kind of like me as like through my whole training history. It's like if I can't do something, I really like it, and I like the idea that I have to get better at it. I think it's what's happening with me at cycling at the moment is because I was pretty shit with some of the people I was going out with, so I had just a sole intent to get better, and now I've got better, but now I want to get even better because I know that's, everything's based on like your watts per kilo and stuff like that. So it's like, I want to see how far I can push, but that's what I think CrossFit kind of really exposed me to. And that as a benchmark workout, Fran is just absolutely beautiful. What about open workouts? Obviously every year. So if you don't know what CrossFit is, every year they do normally 5 workouts over 5 weeks, and you have, so everyone in the world will be doing it all at the same time. So you all have to basically do the same workout, and you get put on a world leading leaderboard. So what would be your favorite one that you've ever done?
So you know what? I think a lot of people will be surprised that the one I think I enjoyed most was 16.11, which was a 20-minute AMRAP, as many rounds as possible, of chest to bar pull-ups, barbell overhead walking lunges, and burpees over the bar. And I think that was that might be my first open, but I had got reasonably fit before the open, which was unusual. And I just remember having a strategy and sticking to it and for the whole 20 minutes. But I think I managed to stay just under threshold. And my good friend Jamie Lau was judging me, and he's a great judge. If anyone has the opportunity to be judged by him in the open, seek him out, because he just says the right thing at the right time, keeps you on pace, doesn't get you overexcited, and was very encouraging. And it just helped me stay mentally in the right place, which is, yeah, very uncomfortable, but not working too hard. I think the classic mistake for most people in open workouts is going too fast, too soon, crossing the threshold, getting into over the red line, and then the rest of the workout's just a sufferfest and massively kills your performance and your score. So I just remember pacing it well, breaking up the pull-ups early, and he actually used to do these. He should start doing them again. He used to do these open prep videos where he'd get a whiteboard out and discuss the different strategies depending on what sort of athlete you are and how fit you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. He's like, this is how you should break down the workout. These are things you should be thinking about, these sorts of rep ranges. And yeah, he just had some really good guidance on that front for me. And because I think it was the first time lunges had come up in the open, and because it was barbell overhead, it was particularly difficult for a lot of people. So there's a lot of fitter, stronger guys who were having to drop the barbell during the lunges just because they weren't very stable in lunges and their shoulder mobility was poor, so they couldn't balance it overhead very well. So it's a lot of work just having the barbell up there. Whereas for me, because my overhead position is decent and I do a lot of lunges, that was kind of a nice tick over active rest part of the workout. And I felt like I did all right in it, considering it's a very capacity-based workout, which is traditionally my weakness. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite. What about you, buddy?
I think my favorite workout will have to be 18.3, I'm going to say, which was, I think the reason for that being my favorite workout was because it was at a point where I've been doing CrossFit for a little bit now, and there was so much demand of skill in that workout. So a lot of people hated that workout. So for those that don't know, it was a 2 rounds for time of 100 double unders, 20 overhead squats, 100 double unders, 12 ring muscle ups, 100 double unders, 20 dumbbell snatches, 100 double unders, 12 bar muscle ups. So as a workout, that was, if you're not composed and you keep tripping on the double unders, stuff like that, that's going to absolutely hammer you. And when it comes to like the high skills things of basically ring muscle ups and bar muscle ups, it was, you have to stay within your threshold. So for me, it was such a skillful workout that so many people got frustrated with, because they was like, I can't even do a ring muscle up and stuff like that. But that was the challenge. And for me, as a test of skill, that was such a good one, because it's intensity, it's skill, high skill gymnastics. You know, then you've got some grunt movements. Then you've got overhead stability with your overhead squats, with burning shoulders, especially when you get to the second round. And then, you know, dumbbell snatches, which everyone's like, oh, this is the easy bit. This is the bit where you got to try and just get through. So for me, that was probably my favorite workout, because I just stayed composed. And I did it twice. So I did it on the Friday. And I did it, I'm pretty sure I did that one against Tom Bliss. So I think it was me and him had a head-to-head. Yeah, it was really good fun. And then I redid it on the Monday after, I think I did like a lads weekend or something like that. So I drank a hell of a lot and actually improved my score because I was more composed on the double unders. So I was able to get through and stuff like that. So I was into the second round, because I think the first time I only got to the overhead squats, and I think I got into the ring muscle ups the second time round or whatever it was. But for me, that has been like a bit of a pinnacle, shall we say, through my CrossFit training, because that was, I often, you know, go out the gates too hot and everything, but that one you had to be composed. So for me, it was a real like fuck yeah, I did that. Yeah. So it's, you know, it puts in such cool movements as well. You know, like when you watch CrossFit, you see people muscle ups, you see people say that double unders look cool, but, you know, just, you know, so composed, doing a form of cardio essentially. So what would be your favorite and least favorite movements within CrossFit?
So I think that, well, going back to that workout, it actually has one or two of them, depending on how you look at it. But overhead squats always been a favorite of mine with the barbell, just because there's nowhere to hide. Like if you've got any mobility restrictions or you're weak anywhere, it'll get punished in the overhead squat. So if you have a good overhead squat, your body is like a good indicator that you you move well and you're strong all over. So that was always a big favorite of mine. I prefer strict to kipping for everything, but so the strict muscle ups is probably my other favorite movement in CrossFit. And I
Ring
think
or bar?
on the rings, yeah, I prefer the rings. And I think that workout was amazing for people who had done CrossFit for a little while, because they worked all those skills, and it was just like, right, you put the time in to get your double unders, you put the time in addressing your mobility and any issues that might hold back your overhead squat, and you put the time in working on your muscle ups. Now's time to show it all off. And for anyone who hadn't got there just yet, it was a bit like, fuck you, do more CrossFit, come back next year. It's like, if you haven't got double unders, you're struggling right from the start, and you almost can't get in, you don't have a chance to get into the workout. And same goes for muscle ups. If you don't have your muscle ups, there is a cutoff for, you can't progress beyond this point.
I think just on that, just wanted to touch on that. I think that's kind of one of the things I actually like about CrossFit, because even though that was the RX workout, there is still a scaled version of it. And it's then up to people to check their ego and not say, right, I'm just going to do double unders and overhead squats, double unders, and then just stare at the rings for X amount of minutes just to get higher up on the scoreboard, which I know so many people did. And it's like, why not do the workout that's scaled and absolutely smash it and have the intended stimulus? And I think this will be a whole separate podcast talking about basically like the ego and CrossFit. But for me, it's like, don't get me wrong, that's it. And I'd probably do that. I would, because I have an ego when it comes to training, and I know that, and I'm proud of that. That's what's helped me push. But especially when people are doing it more than one time as well, then trying to get, and you're just like, what are you doing? This is just destroying you. It's like, you're not. It's so soul destructive, so soul crushing, and it's just like, I think as a entry level for CrossFit, understanding that just because you see these big fancy movements does not mean you need to be doing them, or that you will ever do, and that's not a problem, because again, that's not really what kind of CrossFit is. It's obviously a training methodology for improved health and well-being and so forth.
Yeah, it's spot on. I think we could probably do a whole episode on how to approach the open and what sort of mental approach you have with regards to what you want out of the open, and whether maximizing your performance is actually what you want, which I think, unless you're a competitive athlete, reining it in slightly and getting a little bit more out of the actual workout for the workout's sake rather than for a scoring only is valuable. Just to finish your question to me, my least favorite movement would definitely be kipping handstand push-ups, just because I've had a personal injury from it where I slipped a disc in my neck by landing on my head too hard repeatedly. And I think we spoke about it last episode, but for what reward it offers, the risk doesn't really justify it for me, in my opinion. I think it's perfectly fine for a lot of people to do, especially if you've put time into to work on it and progressed it sensibly. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But if I was to pick my least favorite movement, I just think it's for me and my body, especially now, I won't be doing them anytime soon. What are your favorite and least favorite movements, buddy?
As a favorite, it'd have to be handstand walks and bar muscle ups. I have to say those two, just because of for me, I think they're like the two pinnacle movements of CrossFit. Like, that's like, once you got those two, you completed CrossFit. You can tick it off and move on. Then you can crack on with other things. But no, for me, it's like they were two such high skill movements which took so much work to achieve that I was so happy when I got them, and I've managed to keep hold of them and stuff like that. It's just for me, they also look great. And walk in and bar muscle ups, they're just so out there. They're just so ridiculous. And it's like, but it's funny for someone who loves a barbell and loves strength training and stuff like that. They're two gymnastic movements, but yeah, they're probably my two favorite. And I think my least, I'd probably have to agree with you, handstand push-ups, but that's mainly because whenever I put the work in to get better at them, I do, and they get great, but then they disappear very quickly, which is also carries over for me to the strict press. I love a strict press, but only if I'm doing it consistently. If I'm not doing a strict press with a barbell consistently, just, oh God, my strength just deteriorates. It's just horrible. It's one of that for me. They damage my ego. They really, really do. So I think that's where, you know, as an honesty thing, like that's probably why they're my least favorite, just because you have to keep doing them, and because it's not something that I keep doing, I'm not that great at them. I can do them, but I'm just not great. So, but I think for me, one of the most fun things though is actually the coaching aspect of all of this, and it's like trying to coach members to be able to do a handstand push-up, to be able to do muscle up and all this, because I've done the journey and I know the struggles, I know the battles, and it's why why I enjoy coaching CrossFit so much is because I think what I found, and it comes to you as well, is CrossFit members seem to be really motivated to do better. And definitely, when I've worked in like a commercial gym for a while, and I've had various clients over the years and stuff, and I've just seen members in the gym, and it's like they kind of they're, as I said earlier, they're there to tick a box. They hire a trainer, so that means, oh cool, I'm going to now get my results. It's like, well, no, you still need to put in the work. And I think that's a very different mindset to people that are at a CrossFit gym. I personally, from what I found, is nearly everyone that goes to them that is a member for a decent amount of time is because they just want to get better. And something that I'm very passionate about with all my clients, and it's where I don't care about what you say lift or all that. It's about the effort that you put in. And CrossFit is pretty much all about effort. And for me, that's probably the biggest takeaway. And that's why I love coaching CrossFit so much, because there's so many elements to it. And when you watch someone achieve like such a high skill exercise and then put it in a workout, and they're like, fuck, I just did like a workout with double lunges and I didn't trip over that much. And it's just like, and that's what you do it for. It's that warm feeling of like fuck yeah, you know, you have a person, and it's like, yeah, such a good thing. But what got you into coaching CrossFit, and like, why do you like it?
I love it because it's very similar reasons. When you can give somebody a new movement and they realize that they're capable of doing something they previously weren't capable of, like that, they tick off muscle ups or they PB their snatch or something like that, and you see the satisfaction and joy in their face of like, I've worked really hard for this. I've been trying for so long, and now I finally achieved it. I think that's so rewarding. And the problem solving aspect of it is actually also great when you're working with somebody, and depending on what they're training for, whether they're competitive and you're trying to maximize their score in the open, there's so many moving parts in CrossFit. It's a massive problem to solve from a programming point of view. Like, how do I get this person to be strong in all areas to maximize their performance in CrossFit as a sport? Like, that's a very complex problem to solve. It's not as simple as just do everything, because people have only got so much time in the week and they can only recover from so much. But also from a movement perspective, is why can't they do a muscle up? Why have they plateaued in their snatch for a year or two? Like, what's actually going on here, and how can I create training, whether it's movements and biomechanics work, or is it just programming correctly so that they can tick off that muscle up goal without sacrificing the rest of their training, because you've got to keep everything else on simmer, at least if they do want to compete in at all. So from that perspective, it's most similar to working in other sports compared to just like general personal training where, you know, like you said before, they're not that motivated, they just want to look good, and they're not really enjoying the training itself. I think CrossFitters love training, they love actually just being in the gym doing work. They're very enthusiastic and they want to get better. So when you're working with people like that, it's impossible not to be excited about it with them. And yeah, it's just so much more rewarding when you can demonstrate that their performance has improved. Like even if like one of my clients put something up yesterday, the day before, he had a rowing interval session and he'd got faster in every interval by like 1 second, or like not a huge amount, but he was so pumped because he's like, I know I've got fitter and all my hard work is paying off. And I think little things like that just I think that's what gets most people into coaching, to try and help people realize their dreams.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, I think this period has been such a eye-opening period at the importance of health and how much it gives them. It's like, it's that mental release and that, you know, something to work towards as well, you know, outside of your day-to-day, you know, this is that, you know, an own personal goal of trying to achieve something. And when you take that away, like when they close the gyms and so forth, it's so demoralizing. And it's just like, one of my clients said to me this morning, she said how there was a queue of like, I think about 30-40 people to get into her gym at 10 to 6 in the morning. And it was just, and this, she went on Wednesday, and it was just, she was like, obviously the first day it opened, and it was just like, she was like, I know there's normally about 3 or 4 people in here, but that just showed you how everyone was itching. They just, I just need to train. She said she went in there and it was like a Nuffield, and it's just, everyone was just training. It's like, there was no like talking, everyone was just training. And it was a really weird thing, but such a good thing to see. And it just shows that need. And it's like, I think we want to try and get from this episode is that if you haven't tried CrossFit, give it a go, because it's like, we often, we don't say talk down about it, but we often say it's like, we understand it's not the be all and end all, but what CrossFit does, it exposes you to so many different things that you can understand what role it can play for you. Whether if you're just someone to try and stay fit, then, you know, it's an absolutely amazing methodology. You know, you'll get in there, you'll cover all your bases, and you'll be stronger, fitter, healthier, happier. If you're maybe working towards a sport or something like that, and it's just like a weekend hobby, it could be a good little thing to do on the side as well, as, you know, you pair the two, because it's good for fitness, it's good for well-being and so forth. But maybe if you're working towards a specific sport and you need to improve that, then maybe you need to think, okay, it might not be like the answer, or it might be something I want to do infrequently, or maybe once a week, just to tick over for maybe the community side of things, and that wholeness feeling, which is something that obviously CrossFit is known for, is the community. And that's everyone pushing each other, making you feel better about, like, you know, your achievements. It's such a great place to be. And it's definitely something that I miss, because obviously I haven't coached for ages, and it's something that I really miss, is that, like, you know, at the end of a workout, everyone like on the floor sweating, like just they've worked hard, and you can just see everyone's like, fuck that, never doing that again. But I do actually feel pretty good, and okay, I do kind of like this. I want to come back again and do it again tomorrow. So it's I miss that so much. And it's, you know, that we touched on it there as the coaching side of things, but it's the community side of things it's for me, that's what sold me to CrossFit. It's, you know, it's such a unique thing that yeah. So do go if you never tried. If you do CrossFit, keep doing it. So, Ash, you want to close this one out?
Sure. This has been Lunge Lift. Thank you for listening. If there's anything you guys would like to hear us discuss, please do get in touch at lunge.lift on Instagram or lungeandlift.com, or feel free to direct message at robstubbspt or at ashgrossman.coach, also on Instagram. And any feedback you have for us, we'd love to hear. And as always, we're very grateful if you could give us a little 5-star rating on iTunes if you think we deserve it. Otherwise, just don't bother. Thanks for your time, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.